So where do you think the next wave of disruption will come from, and what should companies be doing to prepare for it?
The most annoying question as an academic, but we keep this private, I'll just fill you in, is when you did a lot of research that says, I understand this, and at the end of the presentations, people are like, what's next? I said, I did so much work to tell you what's this.
Pay attention to this.
Exactly. So we would love to say, forget about what's next. Focus on understanding this, but everybody asked me, what's next? What's next? And so I did not want to do it, but I was forced to do it. A last chapter in my book addressing what's next. But the challenge of what's next is either you say what's next and it's completely wrong, and then somebody's going to come back and saying you got that completely wrong, or saying what's next by answering what is now. Basically something that everybody already noticed, and you just say it, and then you're not going to be wrong, but you're not going to provide any insight. So you're in between this thing of I'm going to likely get it wrong, or I'm just saying something that everybody knows. So I think, how do I solve that dilemma? It's like fundamental dilemma. What am I going to do to say what's next? Well, basically I thought about it, and I went back to chapter 1 and said, how did I learn about decoupling? And then I pulled out the elements that helped me identify decoupling, and then I said, you know what, this is how I learned about decoupling, and there's some principles about learning about what's next. I'll show you the principles, and hopefully you can identify what's next. So what are some of these principles? So first is, don't focus in one industry. Look across industries. If you focus on one industry, you're just narrowing, seeing just a trend only in that industry, or by the time you see what's happening, it has gone through so many other industries that you're basically saying what everybody knows. So broaden your horizon. Second point, consumers, going back to what we talked earlier, consumers, they don't compartmentalize into industries. You're buying, at home you're buying books, and you're buying food, and you're reserving travel, and you're helping your daughter get into college. You're making consumption decisions all across the board, right? And so understanding your behavior in these different industries will help even if a manager is in another industry, because you're going to use the same logic. And so the problem is there's hundreds and hundreds of industries. Right? How can I tell readers, look at these 100 industries and what's going on and try to find a pattern? That's impractical. So what I did is I reduced the workload for them. And basically what I identified is that there's 7 categories of consumer purchases that U.S. households spend about 94% of their income on. And these categories are how we educate ourselves, how we heal ourselves, healthcare, how we transport ourselves, how we feed ourselves, food, how do we live, home, things inside the home, and what do we wear, right? So these 7 categories across the United States correspond to 94% of our household income. And the decisions that we make there, because they are so important and pervasive, they affect our behavior in any of the other industries in which we buy products. And so you should focus on these 7 industries. And in the book, I show where are the costs to consumers rising fastest in these industries, because those are the ones ripe for disruption. And I'm not going to give away everything, but...
Got to get the book.
Got to get a book, but I'll give you 2, which is, unsurprisingly, education and healthcare. The cost has been rising dramatically high in the past 20 years, and there's a huge opportunity for disruption there, right?